again. How do you do? How do you do? How do you do again? Two little children met in a lane, bowed most politely, bowed once again. How do you do? How do you do? How do you do again?
You could go on singing that song afterwards. If you can think of some other people to meet in the lane, you could sing about them too. Here's a picture of the two people in our story today, Mr. and Mrs. Hacktack. They were both quite old and rather poor. That is, until they discovered a way of making two of everything. Mr. and Mrs. Hacktack were rather old and rather poor. They had a small house in a village in the mountains. Now one day, when Mr. Hacktack was digging in his vegetable patch, he found something buried in the earth. It was a big brass pot.
Why have I never found this before?
He was disappointed to find that the pot was empty.
Never mind. It might come in useful for something.
And that evening, when he finished work, he decided to take the pot home with him. It was a very big pot and very heavy. As he struggled to lift it, Mr. Hacktack's leather purse fell to the ground. To keep it safe, he popped it into the pot. My dear husband, whatever have you got there?
It's a pot I found buried in our vegetable patch. I thought it might come in useful for something.
Well, it's too big for a cooking pot, said Mrs. Hacktack. And it's too small for a bath. And she stooped over the pot to look inside. As she stooped, the comb, which she wore to keep her hair up, fell into the pot. She put in her hand to get it out again, and... Oh!
What is it?
Asked Mr. Hacktack.
Is there a snake in the pot?
No, my dear husband, but what can this mean? I put my hand into the pot to bring out my comb, and look, two combs, both exactly alike. Then Mr. Hacktack remembered the purse he'd carried home in the pot. He stooped over the pot and brought out two purses, both exactly alike. Open the purse, said Mrs. Hacktack. Open both purses. One of them is sure to be empty. But not a bit of it. The new purse had exactly the same number of coins in it as the old one. And that meant that now the Hacktacks had exactly twice as much money as they had before. Twice as much money. And two combs instead of one. There is something very unusual about this pot.
What a pity we haven't a chicken to put in.
Mr. Hacktack said sadly.
It seems as if The pot has to have something to copy before it can make anything.
My dear husband, said Mrs. Hack-Tack, I have an idea. Let's put your purse in again. And again. You see, we shall soon have enough money to buy a chicken and anything else we need. After a while, the floor was covered with leather purses, and it seemed a good idea just to throw the money in by itself. However many coins they threw in, twice as many came out. At last, Mr. Hack-Tack yawned.
Come, wife, it's late. After all, the pot won't run away. We can always make more money when we need it.
Next morning, Mrs. Hack-Tack decided to see if the pot was still working. She dropped a cabbage leaf into the pot and brought out 2 cabbage leaves. I don't know how you came to us, my dear pot, she said, but you are the best friend we ever had. Oh! Mr. Hack-Tack was surprised.
What an extraordinary thing.
I won't have another Mrs. Hack-Tack in the house, screamed the first Mrs. Hack-Tack. Put her back in the pot again.
What? And pull out 2 more Mrs. Hack-Tacks? No, no, no!
So now there were 2 Mr. Hack-Tacks and 2 Mrs. Hack-Tacks. The new Mr. Hack-Tack sat down next to the new Mrs. Hack-Tack. Then the first Mrs. Hack-Tack had an idea. Listen, my dear husband. It really is a good thing that there is a new one of you, as well as a new one of me. These 2 people can set up house next door to us, and we can go on as usual. And that is what they did. With the money from the pot, Mr. and Mrs. Hack-Tack built themselves a fine new house. And they built one just like it next door for the new couple. The neighbours were surprised to see such fine houses, and very surprised to see the new couple who looked so much like Mr. and Mrs. Hack-Tack.
It looks as if the Hack-Tacks are now so rich that they've decided to have 2 of everything. Even 2 of themselves.
Well, if you want to get rich quickly and you haven't got a magic pot, here's a trick you can try. Now then, who would like to make some money?
I do.
Well, you've got to have some to start with.
I want some.
Ah, all right, Lucy, put your money on the table. Now, how many coins can you see?
1.
Now, how many are there?
2.
And now,
3.
and now.
4.
And are they all the same?
Yes.
Yes. 4 coins, all alike, and all done with
Mirrors.
There you are, Lucy. But you don't need mirrors to find things that are alike. You just need to look around.
Were those 2 little girls twins?
I think they might have been. They were very much alike, weren't they? I hope their teachers can tell which is which. Goodbye.
Goodbye.